So the Nikon Z8 is very real, it's coming very soon, and we just got some new leaked specs. So I thought I could take some time off because, well, the news cycle was completely dead, but you know, then the Z8 has to start coming out.
That doesn't make sense.
So there's been a lot of different leaks from a lot of different sources, but this is the latest greatest coming from Nikon Rumors. And there's something at the end of this that, if true, is a pretty big disappointment, but we'll go into that later. So starting off with the good news, this will have a 45.7 megapixel stacked sensor. So it's gonna be the same one that is in the Z9, which is essentially what I believed and said would happen. So it looks like they are getting this super amazing sensor, and I'm very excited for Nikon shooters. Moving on, the ISO range is between 64 and 25,600. No real big shockers here. It will shoot 20 frames per second, and in JPEG mode, it will have 120 frames per second mode. I actually speculated before that they may take out that 120 frames JPEG mode, but essentially it looks like they're leaving it in here for the Z8, and I'm completely down for it. It will have 5-axis body stabilization, or 6 stops. Like the Nikon Z9, this will have electronic shutter only. So I think that is kind of the path moving forward, and I believe more and more cameras are going to become shutterless because the sensors are just so fast at this point that you don't have as much of a need for an actual shutter. Autofocusing points is 493. Again, I believe that is the exact same as the Z9, and hopefully it will have the same updated autofocus as the Z9, and hopefully the Z9 will get even better and maybe have some more firmware as well. So I can see this actually coming out with a better autofocusing than the Z9, or maybe by the time this comes out, the Z9 will have an even better autofocusing system. Moving on to the video specs, this will shoot 8.3K at up to 60 frames per second. Now, no word on whether this is RAW or what the actual formats that will actually be added into the video, but still 8K 60 is pretty impressive. So I will be very interested to see how they actually go about doing this, because this is supposed to have the smaller body. There's been leaked images and all that type of stuff. And I know that the Nikon Z9 is able to do so because it has that really powerful body. But I just wonder how they're going about it, because, for example, I have the R5C, and with the R5C, you can shoot 8K 60, but with the internal smaller battery, you don't get enough wattage to actually have a fully functioning 8K 60. Basically, your lenses will no longer use autofocus, they'll turn into manual focus lenses, and the only way you can actually use 8K 60 in any kind of functional way is to use like an external battery, like a V-mount battery, which gives a little extra juice, and then of course it can work perfectly. So I just wonder, does Canon actually have, or does Nikon rather have, a higher wattage battery with more energy that's able to flow out of it, or is their processor maybe doing it in a more efficient and faster manner than what is in the Canon R5C? They say it will have a 3.2 inch tilting LCD. Personally, I'm kind of surprised by this. I kind of thought that they would go with the flip out screen for this particular camera, because I thought it was going to be, I don't know, maybe a little bit more of a, you know, content creators Z9, but maybe they're not going that direction. Wow, the way the light's changing, I look like super, I need to change my white balance. I look a little less like a Oompa Loompa now. I actually have a sunburn, so I do look legit red. This will have an EVF between 3 megapixels and 9 megapixels. So they're saying that they got a little bit of conflicting information. So either to be a 3 million dot EVF or a 9 million dot EVF. Either way, I'm pretty sure the EVF is gonna look great. The one in the Z9, supposedly it looks really good, the way it's actually able to reconstruct like a live view. That I think a lot of people were liking that. When it comes to memory cards, I know people were hoping that it would have 2 CF Express Type B cards, but it does look like they are going to go with 1 CF Express card and 1 SD card. It's not necessarily a surprise here, and it is a way for them to add a bigger differentiator between this and the Z9. It will be dust and drip resistant, same as the Nikon D850. And here you can see the dimensions, and they say that it weighs under a kilogram, which makes sense. Like, that's 2.2 pounds. So I would hope that it would be way less than that. That would be a fairly chunky camera, but I guess the Nikon Z9 probably did weigh more than that. So this does sound like it's just going to be a fairly compact version of the Nikon Z9, which is a great thing. But one thing that is not so great is what they're saying the price may be. So I personally think that they are wrong right now on the price point, or I think the way they're translating it over, it's not necessarily on one-to-one, because just the way the US dollar has been working. They say that the price will be 4,599 pounds, which is the equivalent to 5,000 US dollars. So that's not good. I thought Nikon was going to be fairly aggressive with the pricing of this camera, maybe even undershoot the Canon R5 and the Sony A7 R5, but at least by their way of translating things, it doesn't look like that's the case. I will say though that a lot of times the taxes and different like value-added taxes and all those different import taxes, all the different taxes that Europe has, sometimes that will be added into the price. So I would assume that it's not going to be over, I don't think it's going to be near 5,000. I would believe maybe $39.99. But more aggressively, I was hoping to see something like maybe like a $36.99. But if it's $4,000, that makes sense. It sounds like it's going to be worth it, and it sounds like it's going to be an amazing camera. For you Nikon shooters out there who have been waiting for a big win, it looks like you're going to be having your big win soon. But drop in the comment section below and let me know, what do you think about these Nikon Z8 specs? Do they make sense to you? Do you think there's something a little off about it? What do you think about that insane possible price point of around 5,000? Do you agree with me? Do you think it's going to be closer to that 4,000? Let me know all that in the comment section below. If you've liked this video, consider giving it a thumbs up and maybe subscribe. It would mean a lot to me and really helps out the channel. Till next time, peace.